Basically, welcome to week 9. I'm so pleased that you're here. I'm so pleased that our invited guest is here. We're lucky to have Eyal Gruss with us today, all the way from Tel Aviv. This is the one upside of the pandemic, is that it is now possible to invite people from across the planet to come give guest lectures in our classes. So this is really exciting. We're very privileged. He's assured me that the weather is much warmer there than here, so we can all feel jealous. Although we do have students in Zoom that are in Sri Lanka and in India, which are equally warm countries. So that's good as well. So at least there's some people in the world that are warm. So Eyal is a new media artist and a machine learning researcher. He holds a PhD in physics and is a Talpiot graduate. Eyal creates poetry, interactive installations, computer-generated art, algorithmic poetry, audiovisual performances, AI art, and online interventions. Eyal also runs a New Media Opportunities newsletter and hosts a mini residency for new media artists that are interested in AI. So today's lecture is starting, well, now, and it's going to go until about 10:30, but it's going to be a 45-minute talk. And then it's going to be followed with a Q&A. So really, it's really important that we ask questions and we feel free to speak up, because this is a safe space for everyone to be able to ask questions. Eyal is super knowledgeable and kind, and so just please feel free, write down your questions and be ready to ask them closer to the end of the talk. After that, we're going to take a 15-minute break, and then those who signed up for the workshop are going to come back for the 10:45 workshop. It's going to start from 10:45, go to 12:30. It's going to be about an hour and 45 minutes. It might go over, maybe. We'll see how that goes. I will remind you of the requirements. In order to be in that workshop, you need to have a PC, preferably, or a Mac. Your webcam must be working. Your microphone must be working. You must be willing to open up your webcam so that we can see each other. You need to have Zoom. So check, we got that. Firefox, Chrome, Gmail account, and an internet connection that's strong. So all of that's covered. You also need to have gathered some assets, which would be images, video, audio, and of mostly heads, and also some of full bodies. So Eyal, I'm going to turn my camera off and leave it to you. But at around 12:20, I guess I'll turn my camera back on so that you know that you're getting closer to the end of the talk part. Make sure you unmute yourself, and I'd like to introduce Eyal.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Jane, for inviting me. So let's begin with the first part. I'm not monitoring the chat closely, so Jane, please let me know if there are any questions.
Do you want me to interrupt if there's any questions? Or wait to the end?
Well, if there's something very concrete, yes. If not, let's leave it to the end. And in the second part, we'll do it completely open.
Perfect.
Okay. So hopefully you can see my presentation.
Perfect.
Okay, avatars for all. Yeah, I was already introduced. Okay, so I'm trying to hold like two hats, one of the creator, the artist, and one of the machine learning practitioner, and see how these two different aspects I'm interested in can serve each other. And as an artist, I'm quite limited in my capabilities. I can write words and I can write code and I have many ideas, but there are many things I cannot do. I cannot write music or play music, draw, paint. Sometimes I cannot even write because I have a writer's block. But as you might already know, code today can help and do a lot of things, starting from suggestions, alternatives, or completions, like we have like in every mobile keyboard now, but also more advanced possibilities, of which we will see some today, to generate media, to manipulate media, to perform with media, things that I would not be able to do by myself without the help of the AI. But yet, it does not replace, not my concepts, not my artistic process, I do write my machine learning myself or base it on open code, but it's not automatic, it's not completely automatic. And maybe most importantly, the poetic or artistic choices are still mine. So we will discuss today many models that are based on deep learning and neural networks, generative neural networks. It will not be technical at all, maybe just 2 slides, but essentially it's a machine. It's a machine that can take some input and process it and give some output. Now, both the input and the output can be various rich kinds of media. It can be text, image, video as an input, and so on, and also for the output. Now, the machine takes in this, say, an image and processes it into some kind of a latent representation, a computer representation, how it understands the semantic of the media. This is the first part, the encoder. In the second part, called the decoder, it takes the same computer representation and now translate it back to a rich media that a human would be able to consume. Now, there are many possibilities to combine the input and the output. So it can be take a text in, say, English, understand it, translate it into Hebrew. But it can also be maybe take an image, understand it, and write a short paragraph describing in text what is in this image. So it can be cross-domain. Maybe even take a text, understand it, and create an image based on this text. We'll see an example soon. So essentially, all kinds of these combinations should be possible. Now, so this is some kind of, you can think about it not as only as a generative model, as a translational model. And this is a machine learning. So it's trained, the model is built based on examples. So say in this one simple case, it can be take pairs of sentences in English and Hebrew and learn the relation between them. And the reason that everybody is talking today about these kinds of models and deep learning is because today they give amazing state-of-the-art results in many tasks in computer vision and image processing and synthetic media, in language processing, and games, robotics, and so on. And today we'll focus on synthetic media and specifically on deep fakes and avatars. So if I mentioned before,
a deer, a female deer,
taking a text into an image, this is an example of an artwork of mine together with Eyal and Vered Haruti.
ואז גם אני יכול לנוע מהר מהאור.
물끄러미 바라보다 고운 난초를 건네노니.
So probably a little choppy and maybe you don't understand the text, but because it's in Persian or Hebrew or Korean. But what happens here is that we take the audio in real time, translate it into text, translate it into English, and then create an image based on this text. And maybe even if you don't understand the language, you can understand the resulting image. So you can see here a few examples of this kind of translational generative models, and an example of applying machine learning to do art for performance or as an installation. Okay, so this is a very simple artwork, but it brings me to the topic of this talk today and the context.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. The Lord is with thee.
Essentially, what you see is the going down. What you see here is a corona death counter when we had, I think, 1/10 of the number of dead that humanity has now. So for me, when I started to get interested in the subject of the talk today, it was on this background, of course, of the corona pandemic. I created this kind of automatic prayer. Each time you have a new dead in the counter, you get a new layer of the Hail Mary prayer. This was very morbidic to test. Just staring at the screen, waiting for someone to die, or at least for the counter to update, just to see that the work is working correctly. But so this is the context, and as all our activities has moved online, I try to find my place as an artist, in my professional engagements, in my personal engagements, and this is how I got to be very interested in the subject of avatars.
He gave us a place to go.
And I remember there was once a promise
The oasis.
of a cybernetic utopia. And for example, in the movie Ready Player One, he goes into the oasis. In the oasis, you can be anybody that you want to be. You can do anything that you want to do. And I remember that there was this promise that one day everything will be in VR, everything will be online, and then we can be anything that we want and fulfill ourselves. And I thought maybe the forced move online that we have now due to Corona, maybe it's an opportunity. Maybe this is time for the promised cybernetic utopia. So this is what I said to find out in this artistic research. And there are several interesting attempts over several last decades to do this. And one of the more veteran ones is this platform, Upstage, that is now having a very renovated version. But this is the previous version. It's like a canvas online that you can be very expressive and do cyber performance. But unfortunately, it was quite niche and maybe a little bit outdated at the time. So this is one example for maybe trying to fulfill the cybernetic utopia. This is a second example, a more recent one. Modus Studio from Tel Aviv, they did this crazy VR parties in reconstructed Zani, Tel Aviv, and you can see it's quite expressive. It's very fun. It's crazy. You don't have to use a VR set. You can do it in your browser, but of course, if you have a VR set, you get the full experience. But unfortunately, it's also niche. Not many people attended. And a very different example, this is by Facebook Horizon, but we can see similar efforts from other companies. Microsoft now has something maybe similar. So I'm not sure if this is the utopia I dreamed of, but it's some kind of cybernetic promise where people do not have feet for some reason. So maybe not exactly what I was aiming for. And as you probably were aware, most of online communication actually looks like this in Zoom. And actually, this is like a good cohort of active participants opening the camera. For example, now I'm only here by myself. I cannot see anybody else. So maybe there's one or two sharing. So already this is like the good situation for the Zoom. And I try to set out to find how I can express myself with the power of machine learning, of course, at this era of Zoom, and how can I can try to fulfill this utopia for myself, or at least try.
היי,
So a very basic technique.
אפשר?
כן, כן, אני שומע.
קודם כל אני רוצה להוסיף משהו, קצת ידע. האילומינטי מורכב מ-13 משפחות, ביניהם רוקפלר ורוטשילד. הרוקפלר, רק לידיעתכם, הם אלה שמימנו במשך כל ההיסטוריה את כל המדעים, את כל האוניברסיטאות.
אנחנו האילומינטי, אנחנו שולטים בעולם.
So it's in Hebrew, but essentially it's Zoom bombing, the very simple practice of barging into other people's Zoom, in this case, an anti-vax convention, talking about the Illuminati, and of course, the Illuminati had to intervene and come in and tell them that the G5 technology is coming. So already in Zoom, if when the security is not good enough, it's getting harder each day, you could do this kind of very expressive intervention, just opening your mic and putting some image. And I had a lot of fun with this kind of technique. I did find out that a few years before, already almost a decade ago, there was this amazing app. You can find it on Steam for a few bucks. It's called FaceRig, and you can do this very high quality 2D or 3D CGI animations. Yeah, so I just downloaded it and fired it up and started to play with it, see what I can do with it. Now I do have a third hat, which is the hat of the bachelor looking for love. And of course, also this moved online. We had all these kinds of online speed dating, and I tried to see if I can indeed be who I wanted to be in this virtual cybernetic Corona Zoom utopia. So I came in the speed dating as a tiger that I really am. And it's in Hebrew. I'll spare you all the talk and dance and foreplay, but essentially you can see here the tiger, and the discussion ensues if he is a real person or a bot. He is dancing with everybody. The girls are smiling and laughing, but in the end, he pleased to let him stay because he's looking for love. He's a real tiger. I am a real tiger, but they don't let him stay. They kick him out. And then I also tried a similar thing in disguise of wolf.
מיכל כספי. וואו, איזה כיף שגם את רווקה ומחפשת אהבה.
She is not a bachelor, although I said she is. She's like the romantic consultant of the speed dating. But also this is already after they kicked me out. They also didn't like the wolf that I was that day looking for love. Okay, so did it go so well? And I really didn't want to be limited to the few 3D models that are in FaceRig. And fortunately, I do deep learning for a living. And I did recall that, like in November 2019, was a few months before I started to play with this, came out the first order motion model, allowing you to take a single image. We'll play with this extensively in the second part. Take a single image and use some kind of driving video to animate the single image of a talking head, of a full body, of different kinds of animation. And this was a breakthrough. I'll explain why in a few slides. So let me take you back just a few years where people were started to be interested in deep fakes. And this is like deep fake I did in 2018 of this television presenter, and his face is swapped with Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister. I did have to run this on a strong machine for 1 week and do a lot of pre and post processing. But essentially, and they had to put all the makeup and do his hair, but we got this nice face swap, and if you can hear him talk and he does some voice impersonation, it can maybe be more convincing. And we are talking today about two adjacent technologies or techniques. So deepfake is the face swapping. We have the driver here, Obama, in his office, and we have the Chinese president. He's the avatar, maybe the victim. Hopefully, we will take care not to make him a victim. And we just grab his face, the eternal part of his face, and implant it on top of Obama. So this is face swapping. This is classical meaning of deepfake. We'll talk today more extensively about puppeteering or reenactment, where there is this driver, again, the woman with the short hair, and now she is driving the avatar, the woman with the long hair. Now, the difference is subtle but important. In the first one, we get the expression, head pose, lip sync, as always, from the target video, and the identity, as always, from the avatar. But here we have the hair, body, skin tone, background, the office from the driver. And on the other hand, for puppeteering or reenactment, we get the hair, body, skin, and background now from the avatar. So this is a subtle difference. And you can think about different possibilities with each. So maybe this is like more realistic, the second one, and the first one is like more, I don't know, for doing memes. you already know how this works because this is just the encoder-decoder technology that we seen in the beginning. We take an image, put it in an encoder, computer understands it. This is the latent representation. We decode it, in this case, just back to the original image. Now, how do we use or build this model? So we do this kind of training for the model with different images, this case, my image, and also Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel Prime Minister image, and not for long. We have two tricks. So one trick is that we use a universal encoder. It's the same encoder for both of us, but each one has its own decoder. So this is my decoder, and this is his decoder. So we train this model, and then we do the second trick when we use it in inference, when we want to generate. I put my face into the universal encoder, I get a latent representation, and now it is decoded with not mine, but with Bibi's decoder. And in this way, I can transfer something of the semantics, namely the lip sync, the expression, the head pose, onto the likeliness of Benjamin Netanyahu. So this is how it works in a very basic way. I'm not sure you can get the audio. Let me put it on for a second. So the audio is low, but I'll talk over. So you have here an actor, and he does very good voice impressions. And as he does voice impressions of many actors, they do the face swap with high quality. Well, not in Zoom, but you can see it later in high quality. And the combined effect of the face swapping with the professional voice impression can be very convincing.
Honorably mentioned is the pitiful impressionist. Weird and slightly ostentatious tired debris from old Las Vegas, whose former fans have long dismissed.
Okay. So this is for faces. This is another example for a full body. Let me just show you a bit.
Gold jewelry, strawberry champagne. Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like. Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like.
So we have here a ballerina, professional ballerina, and we have students who wrote the paper and the model, but they do not know how to dance ballet. And the computer understands the video. You can think about the latent representation as the pose that it extracts from the video. And then it knows how to decode this back into photorealistic video based on previous imagery of the students. You can see the full effect. Okay, so this again is a model that is you have to train it for a long time. You have to do it, for each student and each kind of dancer. And I did mix two kinds of different approaches we're seeing, and of course they will converge. But for now, we can think about the more qualitative models that are higher quality, better resolution, deal with various mediums like video, audio, different modalities, head, body, maybe non-human forms, different conditions, occlusion, and non-frontal. So this is one development branch happening today. But I'm actually more interested in the quantitative or the accessible approach. And here we talk about maybe lower quality just for now, but being able to do it with less data, with less compute power, with less training time. Maybe do not require to train for each source and target and get a lot of data for each source and target. And in the extremity, what is called zero shots. So no new training. I just put in the driver. I just put in the one image of the avatar. And maybe I can even get this kind of transformative effect in real time. And this is what we'll focus on in the workshop today. So this is Avatarify. Avatarify is
image to transfer motion.
I discovered this came out 3 days before I started to look out what is possible with deep learning. It's April 2020. And they are using the first order motion model for single image animation, just running it live in a loop on a strong machine. And this guy took a photograph of, this is very exciting because he took a photograph of his late grandfather. And now he is reenacting, he's puppeteering his grandfather using Avatarify. And today we will play with similar tools that I try to make accessible by putting them in the browser and allowing you to run them in the Google Cloud without need of special hardware or any local installations. And as you can guess, I had a lot of fun with Avatarify and this kind of technology. So, for example, there was this cyber theater event. I went in as Miri Regev. She was Israel cultural minister at the time. Now, this event was, quite fringe. Usually, she does not attend these kinds of events, but for some reason, the organizer thought that she actually paid respect and came to this event. There was this poetry reading event, and they had the guest. He was like an Iraqi poet, and I was waiting with everybody else to start, and they said that he will be a little late. So I had this terrible idea to have fun and go in as this Iraqi poet. I just Googled his name, took a photo, throwed it in Avatarify, fired up my GPU, and I was this Iraqi poet. Of course, I do not speak Arabic. And unfortunately, he did not show up. I did not have the heart to tell the organizers that they were so happy to see him. I just sat there silently nodding or pretending that my microphone does not work, just listening to their praise and reading of his poems. Fortunately, he was fine, and it took me a long time to tell them what I did. And this is another example of Zoom bombing. This is a political conference with Gideon Sa'ar, and we have a very bad problem in Israel of political spam before the elections. We're now having our, I think, fourth election in the last few years. And I like to give the politicians their spam back. So here I did this physically, and got beaten in physical rallies, but in Zoom, I'm much stronger. So here I come in as the same guy and read back the spam I got.
לא יכולה להרכיב ממשלה, מדובר בחשבון מנדטים פשוט, ואסור להתעלם מהמסקנה הנובעת ממנו.
Of course, until they kick me out. And I think this may be one of the most meaningful interventions that I did in the political or activist aspects, something from the past. So unfortunately, we do have a couple of startups in Israel, for some reason claiming that they can look at a person's face and just by looking at the face determine if he or she will be or are a criminal. And of course, this is bullshit. This is pseudoscience reminding us of very bad times. The human face does not contain by itself the signal of criminality. Of course, it depends on the environment and education and many other things. And unfortunately, they presented this in some conference. They sell it from airports and police to like financial institutions. And they presented it one day after Holocaust Day in Israel. And I thought there were some questions to ask the CTO of the company.
We hope to help all the people without credit history, and we hope that there will be any new problem like Michelle and Michelle's mom, and save some life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ido. Thank you.
Question for Ido. Can you do a Jew detection? Can you detect the Jewish face, maybe by the nose or by the size of the skull, so we can find the Jews and catch them before they take all the jobs.
What?
No, he was kidding with something from the past that's try to be, I don't know if serious or make a joke.
Okay,
I will not take it serious.
So this guy from the past came in and asked if they can apply this technology to find a different kind of criminals. So I think, and I'll show you even some more examples. This avatar technology, together with the option to intervene in Zoom, is very expressive. And even though things move online, I can express myself in very artistic, personal, romantic, activist ways, all due to this technology very recently being available and accessible.
We opt.
So we will talk about different tools today. In the same sphere, a Wild Tulip allows you to take an audio, just an audio, and animate the lips. So it's a little frozen, but it can be nice. Sometimes there are these funny glitches when they don't find them out. I recently added this option.
Sunny day, sweeping that clock. Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Bert.
Hey, Aaron, what do you got in the box there, huh?
This, Bert?
Yeah?
This is my ice cube.
So not perfect, but taking a few different images and not changing every time the speaker changes and doing these automatic skits. You remember that I told you before about the Everybody Dance with the ballerina trained for a week for every specific dancer and student. So not anymore. So just like first order motion model and Avatarify, here these guys gave us impersonator, allowing to do not real time, but like very in a few minutes, take any driver video, take any avatar image, and do this live. And you see, maybe the quality is not so good, but it's getting better. And actually, I have here a newer version, Impersonator Plus Plus. So on the left, you can see Eyal Cohen. He is my Kung Fu teacher. And on the right, you can see Joseph Cowles. He invented this Kung Fu system, and he's not alive. And unfortunately, we do not have any videos of him. But with this, I could take my teacher, and he's doing like the first basic form of Wu Wei Kung Fu. And now he's actually puppeteering his own teacher. And maybe for the first time, I can see the inventor of the system doing this form. And I didn't have a good photo of him, but I did have a good photo of myself. And I think you can see the quality is not bad. We will play with this also today. I think this is the best time I could do the complete form. I could never do it by myself. So here my teacher is actually puppeteering me. So I try to take all these kinds of newly available technology that researchers put out, or like big companies put out in open source, and just do a little bit of wrapping, put it online, and do some kind of GUI to allow people with less technical skills to use it, to make it available to artists, to designers, to activists, to journalists, to educators. And we will play with this kind of tool today. I'm very proud of this. I don't know a lot about a web, but I managed to, I think for the first time, I didn't see this before, take the first order motion model technology as you have an Avatarify and run it live in real time, almost in real time, if you have a good internet connection in your browser, and offer this very rich GUI, allowing you to change to various real or computer-generated humans or animation. And we will play with this tool in the second part today.
שלום רב וערב
So I
טוב.
gave
להלן אלפי ספורט
workshops in all these awesome festivals. And on the right, you can see an example of a friend of mine doing a puppeteering of, again, Benjamin Netanyahu. And if you remember, I told you in the beginning, doing the deep fake that I did took a week, strong computer. He did this in a few minutes, just with these online tools. And we will play with this today. Eyal Pertain, she took, there was this like a publication on Facebook in Israel about this left-wing advocates that woken up to learn the truth and move to the right wing. And they used this text that someone wrote, but they related it to a person that does not exist. Actually, they took these images from a website called This Person Does Not Exist. These are fake people, but some believe that these are actual people. And what Eyal Pertain did, she took this single image and put it in this a tool that we'll play with today, and she did a live avatar. She did like a deep fake of a deep fake, and then people said, okay, maybe it is real.
אני מתבאסת מהמחנה שלי. כל חיי הפגנתי למען השלום. כל חיי הצבעתי לשמאל, ממפלגת העבודה מרץ ועד יש עתיד. תמיד יצאנו לעבוד.
Okay, spare you the Hebrew. This is also in Hebrew. I actually did this yesterday. I like to do a new thing, new tool for every workshop. So this is face swapping. You can see some glitches, but let me explain something very interesting is happening here. So this left-wing organization in Israel, they made a deepfake video of Yitzhak Rabin, Israel prime minister that was murdered in 1995. And so they took an actor and they used the deepfake to put Rabin's face on the actor. And they used a professional video editor. It took him 1 week. And then I just dragged and dropped this deepfake video that they made into this tool, which is not perfect, but I put in a video, I put in an image of, again, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu, and you get, in no time, a deep fake on top of a deep fake, and I had all these fun glitches, and I was so happy. So it's not exactly a deep fake because it's like stretching the face, so maybe it's too wide, but it's like for memes, it's good enough. We will play with this later today. I'm maybe most proud of this effort. You know, usually these kind of things go to the entertainment industry, to porn industry, like for the early adopters. But actually my first client was this organization in Israel that educates children in elementary and middle school about technology and IT and cyber. And they are actually using these tools to teach children about the possibilities and danger and responsible use and critical consumptions of media, which can be today also synthetic. So I think this is the last intervention I have here. This was not Zoom bombing. I was invited by the creator of this theater, a show that was online because of Corona, and the director, she told me, oh, maybe you can come in the chat and do your silly avatars. And I took it one step further. I wrote a very short mini play of conversation between Adolf Eichmann. The theater is about the Eichmann trial. He was a top Nazi operative trialed in Israel. And he discusses with Yehiel Dinuk, a Zetnik, a Holocaust survivor, a discussion about the future of theater. Again, it's in Hebrew, so I will spare you, but I took a black and white photo, put it in some web app to get the color, and then using these kinds of wrappers to animate the single image. Okay, so I'll take a few more minutes before we go to the questions, just to discuss some prospects of deepfakes. Today, it's very important to talk about the morality and the social aspects and prospects of these kinds of technology, especially considering deep fakes. So usually media talks about the bad things, but I'm doing this like for, this is my passion. So I'll talk about some positive aspects. I think the most important thing is to raise a healthy awareness and skepticism for the possibilities of synthetic media. Now, fake news is not new. So we have these like blood libels for the last millennia about Jews supposedly drinking the blood of Christian babies in Passover that is next week. So watch out if you're a Christian baby. So just spreading rumors, you can have fake news. You can also fake imagery. Photo montage was invented in 1857, and almost 40 years later, there was a famous meeting of Herzl, the Zionist prophet, meeting with the German emperor. Now, the thing is, so this is German emperor, this is Herzl, and the photographer, David Wolfson, was too excited to get a good photo op. So what he did, he used the photo montage invented some decades before to make this famous photo of this meeting that happened, but was not documented. Okay, so this is Photoshop from the 19th century. And moving to current days, it's very easy to do fake imagery. This is sometimes called a cheap fake. So you just take an image, say the one on the right that happened in Syria, and you just change the title and say it happened in Palestine, and you have a whole different context. If you do know a little bit Photoshop, and if you have bad intentions, you can take this image, for example, from a right-wing demonstration, extremist right-wing in the States, and put on this guy's very conveniently empty black shirt, the logo of a human rights organization in Israel that you are against and want to say, of course, they're neo-Nazi, why not? Very easy, you know, I don't know Photoshop, but I can do this. So I had to take the face of the guy that did it, put it back in, and put it by his previous website and put it as the homepage of his website. Hi, Jane. So I'm about to finish. But today we're talking about video, audio possibilities. And of course, this is richer media and has a more convincing effect. But you know, fake film is not new. Disney, Hollywood, some say some state organization are doing it for decades. So I want to advocate that this technology can be used for privacy preserving. And now there are several examples, but at the time there were almost none. This technology is known for being a privacy infringing. It was used in the beginning to infringe on the privacy of women. Deepfakes was first used in porn, taking Gal Gadot, Superwoman, and putting her face on top of a porn star. Taking images of women in bathing suits and bikinis and creating naked bodies. And if you're like a white, normative looking woman, the effect can be very convincing and disturbing. But I want to advocate that this can also be used for privacy preserving. So I wanted to do this kind of docu-reality, documenting my trying to meet women on the street in Tel Aviv when you could do it without a mask, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without asking for permission or blurring the face. But once I had the deepfake technology, I could superimpose the face of an actress on top of this innocent woman and retain her authentic response while preserving her privacy. And recently, HBO used this in the documentary Welcome to Chechnya to protect the activists that were having trouble with the government in this document by using this kind of deepfake technology. I want to advocate what I call the fake anything paradox, maybe a little bit more philosophical, the idea that my media representation is not me, maybe even the idea that my physical representation is not me. That's something I'm trying to live by, but not completely able yet. I saw this a news article about this politician that was accused of having a gay sex video in his country when it's not allowed, and he claimed it's a deep fake. And I don't think it's a deep fake, but I was happy that he could claim it. And the point is this. So we don't have time, I won't show you, but on the left I have a real video of me picking my nose, very embarrassing, I don't like to show it. On the right, I have a deep fake of me picking my nose. It's awesome, it's hilarious, it's state-of-the-art technology. I'm so proud with it. I don't have time to show you, but you know, the thing is, it's so good that these videos actually, you cannot tell which is real and which is fake. They look almost identical. And here's the paradox. I hate the real one. I love the fake one. This cannot hold. I have to give something up. And maybe I want to choose to give up. Don't care so much about my physical representation. Don't care so much if there are videos of me picking my nose or having some kind of word sex on the internet. Maybe it's not so important, where everything can be real, everything can be fake. Maybe we shouldn't care about this so much. And the last point I want to make is I think we may be moving from the economy of distributing ideas to the, from distributing media to the distribution of ideas. Recently, NVIDIA introduced Maxine. This is a technology allowing you to do Zoom, but use a smaller bandwidth. So it transmits a low quality, and then use this kind of avatar reenactment, puppeteering on the receiver side to recreate the high resolution, high detail. And we will play with a similar thing in the web demo I showed you before. So, so this is like a very technical thing, just a bandwidth issue. But I think it's something bigger. I think what is happening here in the extreme, instead of transmitting the media, we are transmitting just the director's instructions, maybe just a script. And maybe one day we won't have to transmit media. We can just transmit the idea, the script, and then we don't have to do all these like porn and infringe on other people's privacy to fulfill our fantasies. We can just generate it. And if we want to share it, we can share the idea, and it will be generated on the recipient's own machine. So I think this is the way we are going. So let me spare you the stuff about text poetry because it's in Hebrew and we don't have time. And we will make all the links available, the presentation, and also all the tools that we will use in the second part. And my contact is also here. So this was the 45 minutes talk for the first part. And I'm happy to take any questions now. I did not observe the chat yet. And you can just open microphones and feel free to ask if it's possible.
Thank you so much for that. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Eyal? I do have a couple that were in the chat, but if anybody wants to open their microphone, they're more than welcome to ask.
So I'll just review quickly we have someone?
Yeah, Zishan asked, where do you see deepfakes going in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think I said some things. Of course, 5, 10 is too long to make a prophecy, but from the technical side, I think we see convergence of the qualitative capabilities on one hand and the accessibility on the other hand. And already you do have apps, limited capability, maybe paid, maybe on an iPhone. You can do some stuff. In half a year, you could do more stuff. But I think it's a very interesting time now that this technology is already available, but there is some, how do you say it? Some blocker, some threshold you have. You do need some technical skill. And what I'm trying to do in this kind of workshop is take out this barrier and make it accessible now. Because now is a dangerous time when everybody has access, everybody will be familiar with it. they will already be more aware. Already today, people are starting to be aware, but as new technology is coming out, I think our responsibility as educators and as artists, as technologists, is to try to put it out in the public as soon as it's available for the few, to make it public for everybody.
Yeah.
So,
can I actually add to that question? Yeah, I think that's really a nice way of looking at it, that it's really important to get it out there so that people can actually use these tools. And I guess that sort of leads to my question about, like, you talk about your first clients, and they were educating youth on how to sort of think about and understand technology. And I guess that's my question. Like, I'm sure you saw the deep Tom Cruise on TikTok. And that was so convincing. I mean, the actor was extraordinary, and like the tics and all those things, it was in that uncanny valley, but we're getting to that point where it's really hard. So what happens to truth, and how do people decipher truth? I mean, when it's so convincing, like I was watching it and I was like, I knew it was deep fake intellectually, but it was so convincing that it was really hard to not get swept away by it. So do you have any thoughts about truth and how people are supposed to wrangle truth in a time like now?
Yeah, so first of all, you may want to be aware that it's not only deep fake. They actually use the stand-in actor that is very like a Tom Cruise lookalike. And they did the makeup and the hair and everything. And then they probably did this deep fake. And then they did frame by frame video editing to fix it. So deep fake is only one part of it. There is a lot of human effort on before and after, but it's amazing. Now, it opens up a question about, and every time people ask about detecting fakes, and the question is, what do you consider to be fake? So, you know, when I use my Xiaomi camera in a mobile phone today, the automatic mode it comes in, although I did not want it, is beautify, AI beautify. It's like by default. So already today, when we take an image, so much algorithmic processing and image enhancement is happening in the background. And of course, when you do a professional video, professional photo shoot, you do some fixes. In Israel, we have the law that if you were like a model and you change the body shape of the model, I'm not sure, I don't remember, you have to make a comment, or maybe it's not allowed. But other stuff you can fix. You know, if you have a pimple you want to hide, it's okay. You want to fix the lighting, it's okay. So when does it become fake? It's a question not of visual changes. It's a question of context. When is the message overly changed due to this intervention? This is a much harder question to ask or to define. So it's not only a technology question of understanding fakes, it's like a social question of what constitutes a fake. Where is the moral and maybe legal boundary should be? We have like, you know, watermarks and cash. So do we need to put a watermark on every deep fake? And what constitutes a big enough semantic manipulation to need this kind of legislative intervention?
Right, like thesis-ship. Interesting. We have another question here. Christoph Valanti, do you want to ask the question, Christoph, so that I'm not the only person asking?
I think, yeah, because I posted that question before Eyal finished the discussion. He's already answered my questions, like he's passionate about his work and everything, and that he wants to talk about the positives. So
yeah,
probably not.
Okay, good. Yeah, actually, that kind of leads me to my question also about the cybernetic utopia. I love the idea, and actually our students are doing a speculative design, and they're encouraged to think about utopias and dystopias. And in a lot of discussions, there's a lot of concern about the sort of capitalistic framework that's already existing, and how do you change the way things are in order to reach that utopia. And I'm wondering, like, do you think it's possible to reach this sort of cybernetic utopia within this capitalistic framework that's emerged online? Like, how do you achieve that in today's world?
So I am actually quite old school. I do not believe in VR and the online and cybernetic utopia. I was forced into this. So I hope we can go back to meet in person. And of course, my work is maybe somewhat critical. And, you know, there was an interesting discussion in the online speed dating. I asked people later what bothered them, what was the issue they had. And in the beginning, they said, because I'm hiding behind a mask. But then we understood very quickly that if this was like a party and I would come in a onesie, it would be okay. And we understood that maybe the issue is not a mask, it's a screen. And in Hebrew, actually the word for mask, masecha, and for screen, masach, come from the same root. So maybe it's the screen, maybe it's the combination of the mask and the screen. But personally, you know, I'm just trying to find my way in this online environment that we were all enforced to use. Personally, I'm not a big advocate about about these kinds of communication.
Yeah. Yes, please, Fadi.
Hi. That was a lovely talk. Thank you. So you mentioned that when deepfakes first came out, it became popular for defamation, usage in porn. And now you and a lot of others are using it as an important form of political critique. Now, both of these have very opposite approaches, but very opposite ends, but a similar approach in, deepfake technology and like some sort of exploitation. Because the technology exists and it's going to be more accessible, how do you balance the two? What's the most important part of the ethics that should be emphasized when educating on the use of the technology?
So maybe the most important aspect, I think, is on the consumption side, to be, be aware that it could be fake before you go out and burn cars. And then for the much smaller subset of people that are not only consuming, but also producing these kinds of media. So, it depends on the ethics, and like any technology, like electricity, like fire, you can use it for good or bad. And we cannot, the technology is already out. We cannot avoid it. We can maybe a little bit postpone it, but I think the most important thing is to educate. And I think the awareness on the consumption side is the most important, because you can do regulation and legislation, but it will be hard to enforce. And this is part of a bigger problem. How do you educate to be moral and ethical? So it's just a tool.
Excellent. Thank you for that question, Fadi. Okay, so I am aware of time. It's 10:35. We're going to start the workshop in exactly 10 minutes. So I'd like to take a 10-minute break if we could. So I'm going to leave Zoom running. I'm going to turn off my camera and my microphone, but I will come back at 10:45. In this group, one from each of the groups from all the labs needs to be here to participate in the workshop. We're really excited to have this happen. So we're going to go until about 11:45 or 12. So I'll see you all there. Thank you very much, Eyal. I think we should all give you an applause, a virtual sort of reaction. Thank you very much for all that work. And we'll see you back here in 10 minutes.
Thank you.